next week I'll be around. And I can show you what they've got proposed, but they're probably gonna change where the building is a little bit, cause they had to accommodate.
For a minute.
On the wall.
We know it's not the fourth Thursday.
Really?
We know it's not the fourth Thursday.
They're probably not there a ton. Quiet.
Oh, there you go.
They lost him.
And you have some extra space that they own in Botanic.
He died?
Yeah, he was on the long haul flight. He wasn't old.
I was
Yeah.
gonna come back and do a quick little meeting here. I was on vacation.
Yeah, this little square.
I should take a agenda.
Okay.
Right.
I think it's the chair.
Right through it. I think it's an old rail line. Yeah. I just tell, cause about it. Yeah, I think if we, like, other people, we have to put it up for public, right? Good on it? Then I don't know.
Where did he live?
Like if,
Guy had his wife one day,
that I don't know, I'd have to look up that, I'm sure I'd be the one looking it up.
It's not gonna be here, that's why she's on the end.
Alright,
Marty's a wreck in the city.
go on,
He
enjoy your evening.
down to Dale.
I told her she could have popcorn and.
Hi,
Next time.
how are you?
With it, whoever
Okay.
was there.
Oh, perfect.
I think that's why the yellow.
Okay, all right, we will see you then. Okay, good.
Have a
There you
good
go.
day.
All right, bye, Rosemary.
Oh, I
That's
see.
fine, my dad was a pharmacist, I can read a lot. Thank you.
Then one out here.
Got double mic, yeah. Double microphones coming out, you know.
We're supposed to have it. I started. It's just.
I sent her an email. Would,
They didn't impress me.
we have to show up.
Shake my old lady fist.
Really opposed it. You're staying.
Just in case, exactly.
Have set some rules. They made the zoning. So it's residential. And you start changing it and you
So we,
has to change it.
Hacking away out of himself. The gal that did it, I mean, she did what I asked her to do, but it was so short. Style it myself, because I've got these colics and it was sticking up.
what do we just kinda let them dictate what they do?
Thank you.
Or if they weren't having-
Please, we gotta do it, I'll make fun with what we got.
The applicant has already received a hearing. This meeting, just All the planning
My
commission.
cousin Dave. Oh, no, I have not seen him.
Right, yeah, no.
So you already was from the last meeting.
Apparently, or maybe he had a.
So that would be. So when we get to it, the group or do can I just make that decision because I'm running the meeting? Oh, okay, alright, so I'll bring,
Tom's like 75.
60.
60.
yeah, I went through my work phone like probably 2 hours.
It's very close.
Everything again.
Okay, so it's now specific to the type of
And then the,
occupation.
this second one is not going in?
Got it. Police and,
Okay.
Red? It's a place that, real cute.
Hi.
Boutique and let's say, not away. Still have their
He's got a
Oh, George Strait.
chicken fries.
So you take.
Boy Scout camp or whatever.
First one.
Run about the entire house.
South of town. They closed. No. Okay.
But also
I mean,
they
you
would
call
be,
it, you need to wait like 2 months.
I don't know what they call it.
I was getting my hair cut, complaining.
So like my daughter had to be
Nate.
hired, go in, meet the teacher, do all that. It's really
Next time, it would not lunch out.
Yeah, sure.
So we came back into town, she went to school to check that out, so I could shower and clean up and everything.
Put that in it.
Read through
You
and
guys got problems with cats?
okay, there's a lot more on this than I thought there was. And then she just dropped me off, they're leaving, they're
Dad
going
was
back.
staying at my house last weekend. St. Thomas.
Here, I was like, I don't know what this is.
Woke up at
Tomorrow. She keeps
They,
texting me.
we have to call Dad.
drive back, only like an hour and 10 minutes.
I haven't seen them. Well, I have.
Serious.
Really nice lake.
Oh, yeah.
That was fun, they love that. They had a blast with that. Couldn't help.
Hey,
Pick the pedal. For that.
good, she's,
Sorry, that was a heart attack.
you young mom.
Yes, we have 2 kids now. Weird.
That's awesome.
Busy. I started another job. It's a company called Silent Night. They have a my sandwich. I feel like it's terrible.
Up there
They
too.
are a CPAP mask clinic.
It's just gonna,
Offer samples.
I know, I'll be here until they drag me out.
Chris is going. Chris, always in there.
Well,
She's at the recording or something?
We can't get it pushed to live.
she goes through training.
Yeah, because it was. In that mail.
I did get some there recently. They would have this now. Far and Woodland here and Colony, they don't keep the samples. Yeah, we're probably out.
No, the lady we booked, really nice, but she's here in Big Rapids.
I bet she accepted.
At least it's easy. Maybe it's a sign of a good.
Yeah, cleaning. Clean her.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I bet that's
Yeah, it's important.
It is very,
So you're here for the church thing?
yes.
I do a little thing, something.
Oh, I have no idea.
But it was in front of the chair, you know, being right next to that. Oh, I can hear it, yeah.
Probably a certain time.
Well,
It would be nice
I
to.
just wanna know what the conventions are, cause I'm.
You can ask him. Yeah.
Yes, I can.
That means take that. Took a bit of years.
Why?
I made it through my school day, it was hard, but I did it.
So like this is me,
No, I gotta fill it out.
and I've got a couple pictures of.
Fine.
It's too good if you can.
Why couldn't they? I don't know.
Just wanna understand.
They have like a little islands or like, you know, and you walk up to it, you know.
We were playing.
A long one to sit through.
Yeah.
See how many cars they're gonna add there too.
These are
Kill those people.
they leave. Time on the, over there.
We can
What
speak,
the SLS
have an opportunity to
so I'm
speak.
not sure,
Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
how this went,
Yeah. This is, he's already got. Monday. Alright. Apparently this meeting,
Get comfortable.
to make a recommendation.
Fix that in the parking lot.
Their plots like last time I saw them.
Maybe it is.
Well,
I have one under her, although I don't have a pair of shoes. Pair of shoes. You probably.
nobody's ever asked me.
or they can put like lines of evergreen trees.
Well, that's the thing, why not have an open house? You talk to the neighbors.
I haven't brought.
Totally judging you.
Totally.
Find something there.
Oh, my son.
Well, but,
They built it, they got it all, but
Mike wanted us to come,
But
but
my grandma still
of course we can't, cause it's
it's
like,
hard to see how much influence I have.
You see trees in front of her.
I'm here to destroy.
I'm here to care.
yes, it's to come, maybe it's the Bible.
Yeah, they don't. And you have children that need sleep.
He said something about tonight. And I forgot to, I don't know. Didn't he?
I don't know who these folks are. Have to look on the.
This is the thing.
I will call the planning commission meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Go ahead and roll call.
Borowski.
Here.
Hilatus.
Here.
Vogel. Here. Montgomery. Stokes.
Here.
Reddick.
Here.
Out.
All right. We have two meetings that we had minutes for. So do we need to get separate motions for those?
I'll move that minutes for both July 15th and July 28th meetings be approved as presented.
Could be a correction. I'll note. It's, corrections made to the July 28th work session meeting. The ones present, some of them should be correct. And then there was a copy that didn't have all the formatting, just formatting changes.
With corrections.
Corrections.
Can we get a second?
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Is there any public comment unrelated to items on the agenda? And it does look like, should I mention the one that was taken off at this point? So the 502 Bjornson site plan review for a new commercial storage building has been postponed to the September meeting. Right, so if anybody was here for that, that one will be in September. So yeah, any public comments unrelated to items on the agenda? Nothing? Okay. We can move forward into our public hearing. So it looks like we have the option as a board to hear new information since we postponed 403 Maple Street, a special use request for Institutions for Human Care, requested by the Jonah Foundation. We can reopen the public hearing to new stuff. And Michelle said she could speak on that a little if.
Yeah, so technically the board closed the public hearing portion when you made and moved forward with a vote and postponement. You're not required to reopen the public hearing portion, but as you have a large crowd, which I'm sure is partially here to speak on this application, I would recommend that you allow those who didn't have an opportunity to speak at the first planning commission meeting, the opportunity to speak and present new information that they wish to present, and then also the applicant would have the opportunity to speak with any other new information that they presented. But that if you did speak at the first planning commission, to not speak again unless there is new information that you didn't present at the first one, so that the board can move through their agenda at a reasonable pace.
I think it's a good idea to hear people, so I'll move that we reopen the public hearing for 403 Maple Street.
Hear you. Can't hear.
Turn your mics up, please, sir.
Yeah, you gotta speak.
I think you're saying it all.
How's that? Okay, so I'll move that we reopen the public hearing for 403 Maple Street.
I'll second that.
Alright, all in favor? Do we need a vote for that?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Alright. So the subject is the special use request for Institutes for Human Care requested by the Jonah Foundation. We'll start, we want to do staff again or just go right into people in favor?
Staff has no additional information. I will note that you have on your table an email that I received since the last meeting directed to the planning commission regarding that, as well as we produced a map of the RP zoning district for the board showing PRE is somewhat how we track where rentals are. It's not the only way, but one of the ways we do, because if you get a PRE, that means your property tax, or you're exempt from full property tax, and so the personal property exemption. And so that kind of indicates that you're not homeowner occupied for us. Kind of a weird way to do it, but you're not homeowner. So that map shows which properties are currently PRE or homeowner occupied and which properties are not homeowner occupied in the RP district. It doesn't necessarily indicate if they're rentals or not. We're still working on rental information for the RP district in this, for this area, to show like if it's single family rental or if it's, unrelated rental. Doesn't necessarily fully relate to this case, but it somewhat does. So, you have that, and then you have an email from a neighboring property owner, and then I also received a comment from Pat Curry, and he wanted me to express that he has concerns about the people walking around and how close the structure is to the neighbors, and how close the property is to other properties, with not having a lot of space, and also about how there's been a lot of reinvestment in that neighborhood over the years, and he feels that this might kind of deter some of that future reinvestment, and would hate for the reinvestment that has happened to maybe not be appreciated to that degree. Other than that, I have no further updates.
Okay, so should we give them a shot before public? Alright, if you have any new information from the Jonah Foundation that you'd like to share, sorry.
Thank you. Hope I do this right. Honorable committee members, thank you for your time and service again to the city of Big Rapids and all of its citizens. Jonah Foundation has very much looked forward to our return to the Planning Commission, particularly after having received a unanimous approval of all requested reasonable accommodations and encouraging words from the Zoning Board of Appeals. For this hearing, we have submitted additional information, including an overview of our program services, which include providing a sober living residence, biblical counseling, employment coaching, probation navigation, and fellowship with men of integrity. We have also provided the National Association of Recovery Residences standards for a home-like sober living domain, including required square footage per bed, per bedroom, and standards to promote a safe and healthy environment. In tandem with the submission, we included floor plans of 403 Maple Street with initial renovation plans, which clearly display we are seeking to exceed these national standards. Lastly, included with our new information submission are additional letters and notes supporting the operation of Jonah Foundation at 403 Maple Street. Additionally, with me, I have copies of the layout of the immediate area, which easily allows you to see the proximity of the premises to key support services, including the Mecosta County Courthouse, 1016 Recovery Center, Manna Pantry, Project Starburst, and others. Should I bring those up to them, or can I?
Hand them up, and then I just need a copy for the record.
Thank you.
It has clearly been established that the special use request of Jonah Foundation is to utilize 403 Maple Street as a sober living home with programming for 7 to 9 thoroughly screened residents. Within the City of Big Rapids zoning ordinance, section 7.5, reasonable accommodations for dwellings with persons for disability, the purpose is stated in section A, saying, quote, "This ordinance shall in every instance be construed, applied, and enforced in a manner consistent with Title VIII of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, as amended by the Fair Housing Act of 1988, the Fair Housing Act, Title 42 of the United States Code, Sections 3601 through 3619, and Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA, Title 42 of the United States Code, Sections 12131 through 12134, it is the policy of the township that the zoning administrator, planning commission, zoning board of appeals, and other township officials with zoning-related responsibilities shall make reasonable accommodations in the policies and practices of their offices or bodies, and to the zoning ordinance so that handicapped or disabled persons or a provider of housing for a handicapped or disabled person are not discriminated against and are afforded an equal opportunity to use and enjoy dwellings. End quote. People with substance use disorder are a protected class under the Fair Housing Act disability provisions. People in recovery from drug or alcohol addiction are protected, though the law does not protect individuals who are currently using illegal drugs. Jonah's Foundation program is aligned with this distinction, as the program requires at minimum 2 weeks of demonstrated freedom from substances and continuous accountability to that end. If the city denies the requested use, it prevents supervised residential recovery housing for this protected population, despite the city's own master plan and zoning ordinance supporting such development, and this would create a disparate impact on people with disabilities. The effect, whether intentional or not, is that the city's ordinance keeps in place restrictive standards that effectively prohibit supported recovery housing, while the master plan signals the area should accommodate such uses. And the denial would mean the city would by effect exclude a protected population from accessing supported housing in a location the master plan designates as appropriate for mixed-use development. Approving the use of 403 Maple Street as a sober living home officially brings the city of Big Rapids and Mecosta County with it, alignment with the master plan, addressing a clear need in the community and surrounding area, and removes a discriminatory barrier to housing for a protected population. The proven peer-led social model within this sober living home, combined with our house rules and policies, are based in biblical truth and best practices to ensure the health and safety of program participants as well as surrounding neighbors. Safety, security, health, sobriety, community, and productive citizenship are at top of mind for our organization. Encompassing all of this is the law of Christ, which is to love God and love neighbor. While we face stigma and stereotype, we encourage you to consider the lives and families that wish to be transformed, but have no safe and sober place to practice what we all take for granted. Our focus today is this property, which is fully capable and very well placed to support individuals who wish to walk in freedom from addiction and life-disruptive habits and attitudes. What must be treated with care are the protections against bias and discrimination that would otherwise thwart our community mission, which is to provide a safe and sober space for people who are willing to give up all to gain true freedom, purpose, health, and community. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now we will give an opportunity for those in favor who hasn't spoken already. Okay. Up to the podium, then we're going to try to keep it under 5 minutes per person. And then please state your name for the minutes too.
Hi, my name's Leanna. Sorry, I gotta pull this up. Okay. Thank you for your time. First, I would like to start with a quote from Mr. Randy Hahn. There has to be a landing pad for those individuals who said, "I'm done." My name is Leanna, and I'm here to speak about Jonah Foundation. A little bit about me. I'm a wife, a stay-at-home mom who homeschools 3 of my 4 kids, as one of them is still a toddler. My husband is self-employed subcontractor, so I'm blessed to be able to be a homemaker. But my life did not always look like this, not even close. I grew up with 2 addict parents. My dad raised me and my brother after we got out of foster care. My mom left to live a life of addiction. I never knew anything other than addiction. I thought it was normal. So from the age of 11 until the age of 32, I struggled with addiction. I was violent, rebellious, difficult, full of hate and anger. I struggled with homelessness, in and out of jails, rehabs, and mental institutions. It was just a lot of instability and darkness, and I spread that chaos wherever I went. At the age of 26, I tried to get sober, but I didn't have a support or community that I truly felt welcome. So at 29, in 2019, I became addicted to prescription drugs, which led me down a similar path as before, a path of selfish ambition and vain conceit, like many addicts and alcoholics. It was by the grace of God that I didn't lose my marriage. In 2021, we moved up to this area where we didn't know anyone at all. We were introduced to Randy and Amanda Hahn at our church. Our family soon after went through a very difficult time. Child loss while facing the possibility of unexpected homelessness, but this time with our children. I felt hopeless, lost, and I didn't know what to do. I knew that what Randy and Amanda did as far as Reach the Forgotten, and I heard about the idea of the Jonah Foundation. They gave me resources for housing and other things we needed to get through that time. Then I started to do counseling with Amanda, the same type of counseling that these men will have. It completely transformed me. Sorry.
Okay.
It changed my life in a way that I never imagined it could. It helped me to not only see where and why I struggled, it brought me out of the darkness that I thought was normal all my life, and into the light of Christ, and truly recreated, not restored, transformed. The old me died and a new me was born. I thought so many times, wow, I wish I had this years ago. Maybe life would have looked a lot different sooner. But we all have a path to walk down, and that was mine. And today I'm sober for almost 4 years from those prescription drugs I was abusing. I don't struggle with thoughts or desires to use drugs or even miss that old life. I volunteer in my community in different ways through Angels of Action, at the Hersey House of Hope, and often alongside my family. I think it's important to teach my kids to serve others and be that example to them. I also serve in my church in different areas, occasionally mentor people and have lasting true relationships. I'm a wife, a mother, a daughter, a sister, an aunt. I now have relationships with some family I thought would never talk to me again. The Jonah Foundation is what God used to transform my life, even without the house. I can only imagine all the good things that they could do with a house. Excuse me. During my time in counseling, I had accountability and someone to come alongside me to care for me and love me. But it didn't just stop at the counseling room. They would check on me and my family, make sure that I was doing okay. When I decided to finally let go of the prescription drugs, I had a very hard time with the detox from that, and Randy and Amanda would come and pick me up and take me to Celebrate Recovery meetings every week for a long time. They prayed with me. I could call them anytime. I still can. When there was a significant deaths in our family, when I was struggling with my parenting, through difficulties in my pregnancy with my last child, problems with family, you name it, they came alongside us in it. If more people had access to this type of care, this love, true love for the least of us, they would be able to transform their lives too. People in recovery are just people, lost people, lonely people who struggle with addiction. And honestly, we all struggle with something, whether it be drugs, spending too much, eating too much, anger, selfishness, etc. The list could go on. These men are men that have decided to say, I'm done, and they need that landing pad. This community needs a landing pad for these men who are ready to move forward and be recreated, made new so they can walk with purpose in our community. They need a place that holds them accountable but helps them walk through with resources like job support, housing, counseling, community, mentorship, probation, navigation, and so much more. These are important so that they can be productive citizens of our community. Where there are strong men, there are strong families and strong communities. One more thing I'd like to add, and I give it all to the glory of God, but I see the impact of Jonah in my life so much, which is what God used, and also in turn it's impacted some of my family. I mentioned my parents were addicts all my life. Through sharing my testimony and what I have learned, my father, who was always a high functioning addict, is now just over a year sober. My mother, who I also mentioned earlier, she was in and out of prison, addicted to drugs, never had a true relationship with us kids. I could go on. She was connected by me through references from my church, one being Amanda Hahn of the Jonah Foundation, to go to the Hersey's House of Hope for Women. This program has a very similar structure to Jonah. She now has almost 2 years in recovery, a relationship with her kids and grandkids, who she's babysitting right now so I could be here, a job that she's held for over a year, and has had many promotions in. She serves her family in her church and also in her community. After 40 years in addiction, she's been transformed. We need places like Jonah for our community now and generations that follow. Jonah will only continue to bring good to this community. Thank you for your time, and God bless.
Thank you. Anybody else in favor? All right, and remember, try to keep it to new information from that last meeting to this meeting. Go ahead.
I just want to say thank you for that testimony. That was beautiful. And I guess if you haven't been there, you just really don't know what that's like to be without a place to go.
Quit your name as well, sir.
My name is Russell Ackley, and I live here in Big Rapids.
Thank you.
I work for Original Footwear, and I've been brought back to the Lord by Randy Hahn and Pete Gates and his wife and family. And I'll keep it short, but without places like these, men like me don't have a place to go to restore. Because out there we're defenseless. It's open season on men and women out there that are stuck in addiction, and they need a place to go. And it's great to go somewhere for 30 days and get a breather, or 60 days and get a breather, or 90 days and get a breather. But that's all that is. Homes like this need to exist for men that have been caught in this disease for years, because they need that time, men and women, I'm sorry. They need that time to get right with the Lord, because it takes more than 3 months, right? When you put 20 years into a disease. I ask you guys to please let this happen in Big Rapids, because you'll see the outcome. You won't see it right away, but you will see it eventually. People that couldn't do it themselves, they need help. And I met Randy at a pawn shop as I was pawning off my last possessions to supply my habit. I saw him a few weeks later when I turned myself into jail. I walked into jail because I was scared to death of the drug that I took and what it was doing to me. So I made a call, and then there was Randy. And he says, "Do you want me to get you out of here?" I said, "I don't know if you can. I'm in pretty deep." And that afternoon, he got me out of there. We were talking about this home that day at the pawn shop, and I told him, I said, "If you need help, I'll be there. I'll help you." And I'm sorry that I'm a little bit emotional. I'm way more than a little bit emotional. But her testimony really moved me. These kind of homes are needed. And I just wanna come here today, and whatever obstacles are standing in the way of this, please eliminate those, so that these men and women, or however you set it up, Randy, so that they can come here and get the time that they need to restore their families. Without it, they have no chance. Thanks for letting me come up. And God bless you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Love it, brother.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Gail Bullard, and I am a resident of Mecosta County, employed in Big Rapids, and I am here tonight speaking to you as the project director for the Central Michigan Recovery and Education Network, a 5-county regional grant-funded project at Ferris State University that is working to build a recovery ecosystem. About 4 years ago, a young couple came to one of our meetings with a big whale tail design full of plans for a Jonah Foundation. We helped them get connected to HRSA, a Federal Center of Excellence, the Fletcher Group, to guide them through how to make that whale tail of an idea become something real. And since that day, they have received hundreds of thousands of free consultation to be able to build this program. And this program that they are building is designed after models that work across the nation. I can tell you that all of the accreditations that Amanda spoke about a little bit ago, they will meet, they will exceed. And this group, this home, will be something you will be proud of. We don't have something like this for men in our county. We are way behind. Counties all around you have places for men like this. We do not. We spend city and county tax dollars to transport people who need to be in a home like this, because it takes public transportation to take them to a home where they can stay like this. I do so hope that you will truly consider this. I am a daughter of an alcoholic, a very functional alcoholic. We always had a roof over our head. We always had food on the table. We didn't always have our father home, but he always held a job. At 45, he was admitted to the ER with a blood sugar of 500. He was put on insulin. 3 months later, his diabetes became bowel cancer. 3 months later, it became lymphatic cancer, all related to his alcohol use and other use, tobacco use, etc., his addictions. 1 year later, 3 days before Christmas, we were at his funeral. My father was 46. He never saw his grandchildren. He left teenagers and adolescents behind for my mother to raise, a secretary. Had my father had an opportunity to have a place where he could get away and not have to try to support, but know there were things going on and get help in a way like this. In the 70s, we didn't have programs like this. Now we do. Those men that are the fathers, the sons, the grandfathers, they deserve a place to go. When you want, for many who want to overcome substance use disorder, it's a disease. It's not a series of bad choices. It's a disease. For one person, they can socially drink, and they can socially drink for all their life. For another person, they can socially drink, and the next time they're drinking, it's not socially drinking. Their brain changed and they are now addicted. And that is the same for any other addiction. We don't always know who that's going to be. When they want to not do this any longer and they decide, as we said, I've had enough, for a great majority of them, the only way they can truly break free is to start all over again. That means walk away from anything that could be a trigger. Many times that's walking away from their family for a time, maybe for longer than a time, walking away from their job, their friends, their community, and starting life all again. Not any different than they did the day they took their first breath. But now they're at some stage of adulthood. Jonah Foundation gives them the opportunity to take that break. We've heard that a treatment center of 30, 60, 90 days is a break. We need a place where we can have the entire break. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else speaking in favor? All right. So now we're gonna move to an opportunity for those in opposition to speak. And then again, please state your name and then we'll try to keep it to about 5 minutes.
Okay, my name is Kathy Miller, and I live at 104 South Stewart, which will be 110 feet away from this proposed site. So I have a vested interest in how this is working out. But first, I'd like to read a statement from my neighbor, Jane Johansson. For health reasons, she couldn't be here tonight, so she asked me to read this for her. Is that okay?
Yep, go ahead.
All right. Okay. Jane's at 117 South Stewart, which is 185 feet away from this proposed site. She says, I'm speaking against the halfway house. I do believe it's needed service, but not in a residential neighborhood. There are risks in having people with drug and alcohol addiction. 3 examples I have encountered with just the homeless shelter. We also have owned 414 Maple Street, the Comstock House. She cites some incidents. Number 1, a man entered the Edward Jones office, started yelling and acting aggressively, aloud about the guy upstairs owing him $6,000. They had to call the police. It was he was well known to the officers. Receptionist was very frightened. Number 2 incident, another man came in and asked to use the bathroom. Against her better judgment, she let him in, and then he refused to leave. He kept walking around and wouldn't leave. They tried, he even tried to get into Stephen Miller's office. She then had to be more insistent. He finally left, and now they keep their doors locked, as the receptionist is frightened to be able to have people not walk in. The 3rd instance she wanted me to relay is this incident happened in my own driveway. A man came up on our driveway and started bothering my brother-in-law, was begging for money. This makes me think, what will these halfway home residents do when they fall off the wagon and need money? Break into homes? Possibly. This is a neighborhood ranging from the elderly to children. This is also an inherent problem when you have a group of people with drug and alcohol addiction. Another thought, who has legal liability regarding break-ins, theft, property damage, etc.? We also have a client, we also had a client of 1012 or 1016 come up to my driveway, open my solid fencing gate, and come into our fenced backyard. One more point, at a previous meeting, it was said, she's lost me here, to this property closest to 1016, the courtyard, etc. I really don't see them walking to these places. Oh, this is what she's saying. The places that they would need access to. She says, I really don't see them walking into these places, especially in the winter. Main problem is crossing Maple on foot. It's very dangerous, as it's also M20. She said, in closing, I forgot to mention that I served on the Planning Commission for 10 years and about 6 years on the ZBA. I was also one of the founding fathers of the RP district. I respectfully ask you to deny this request. Please help us keep our neighborhood I will also hope that the folks from the Jonah Foundation would understand our objections and agree to find a different location. Okay. As again, I stated, I'm at 104 South Stewart, which is just gonna be across the street from my home, which I have spent a great deal of money to rehab that home and bring it back, you know, to a pleasure in the neighborhood. My questions again is, what is the Jonah Foundation legal responsibility for any occurrence that threatens our home and our well-being? I understand these people are going through processes where they can, you know, sort out, try to get the best people in there. But you can't predict an addict's behavior. You can't. How can they ensure that they will not be relapses causing disruption or damage? According to the National Institute of Drug Abuse, the overall relapse rate of substance disorders is 40 to 60%. Not all or most of the proposed 7 to 10 men will not make it through the program, no matter how good intentioned the program is. Addict behavior is, as I said before, not predictable. Another thing I wanted to mention is property values. As stated in your, my copy of the conditional use permit, section 10.3.8, no conditional use shall be recommended by the plan board unless such board finds that the establishment, maintenance, or operation of conditional use will not be detrimental or endanger the public health, safety, or general welfare. Number 2, the conditional use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of the property in the immediate vicinity for the purpose already permitted, nor shall it substantially diminish and impair property values in the neighborhood. Number 3, that the establishment of conditional use will not impede in the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding property for its uses and permits. To me, if I wanted to sell my home and somebody had a choice between living across from a place that housed addicts or another home, they would not buy my home. And then to quickly continue.
All right, we're getting close there. Try to wrap it up. If you could.
I'm sorry.
Right here.
What safeguards will be in place to make sure all regulations are adhered to? I know they're going to be monitored. There'll be somebody there. But 7 to 10 or 7 to 9 men is going to be hard to make sure they are adhering to all of this. I spoke to a current Big Rapids policeman recently regarding this matter to just get his opinion, and his response was not good. And to just quickly sum up, I agree that everyone deserves a second chance. I donate regularly to Manna Pantry, Salvation Army, and ARC to help folks that are not as fortunate as I have been. I agree, these compassionate stories were very heartfelt. I congratulate these people for what they've been through and what they've accomplished. I think there is a need for these types of organizations. There needs to be a facility existing recovery, but not in a residential neighborhood, but somewhere that can provide safety for all. Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Anybody else opposed? Go ahead.
He provided me a list of people he's speaking for. Under our rules of procedure, you get 10 minutes if you're speaking. Just so the board's aware.
Perfect.
Only 5 minutes. Hi, I'm Thomas Zerschmied, and for the past 38 years, I've lived at 321 Maple Street, which is the big yellow house as you come into town, which is only 60 feet from the house under consideration today as a sober living home for 9 drug addicts and alcoholics formerly incarcerated in jail, or more seriously, prison. I'm 75 years old and my wife is 76. I'm still working at Federal Screw Works, where I'm Chief Executive Officer. If there is any real insight I can provide to the Planning Commission, it comes from the many years I've spent on the factory floor among 150 to 175 men. 6 hours a day, moving from machine to machine, employee to employee, talking about whatever they wanted to talk about, which was never work. This has been my custom. We've accomplished a lot. We've all protected our families as well as the families of the people with whom we work. Our company is a generous benefactor in our community. Foremost, we are providers. I will tell you, however, and this is my practical insight to the Commission today, that many of the men I have worked with and become friends with and built lives with were in a rage. And so were many of the women. When we direct our rage toward accomplishment, we can get a lot done. But so many years of working with both men and women has absolutely demonstrated to me how much more aggressive men are than women, which should surprise no one, but also how highly unpredictable, how deeply impulsive, and how intentionally, inhumanly predatory some men can be. With this in mind, I've personally fired roughly 150 men over the years for sexual harassment in all its variations. Of these, probably a third bordered on physical violence. Do these two numbers seem like a lot to you? Too little? Men as predators is not, in light of the Me Too movement and Epstein, and now the horrific revelations of abuse coming from the Interlochen Center for Arts here in Michigan, a disease confined to just one socioeconomic class. The medical literature uniformly describes the effects of drug addiction and alcoholism to include brain damage, psychotic and violent behavior, overt aggression, paranoia, reduced inhibitions, and hallucinations. I don't think it's much of a stretch for a reasonable observer to ask why the Commission wouldn't consider 9 male drug addicts and alcoholics formerly incarcerated in jail, or more seriously, prison, to represent a significant violent predator risk to the proposed home's immediate, highly vulnerable elderly neighbors, 5 of whom live within 190 feet, or the young women whose parents drive them up to their sorority only 80 feet away each year, or the families whose small children run up and down the bordering Stewart Street sidewalk. Isn't the welfare of these three groups the principal concern of the Commission? I trust that it is. We can never know what's really in the heart of the man next to us, so we decide as best we can what kind of situation we're willing to involve ourselves in, and what kind we're not. None of us in the immediate neighborhood signed up for this intolerable invasion. Inevitably, there will be a burglary, and 1 or 2 of these violent predators will break in when someone's home and someone panics and there will be a tragedy. Yet I must point out that none of the people who have spoken so ardently in favor will bear the burden of this absolutely predictable tragedy, because this is not, after all, anywhere near where they live. Accordingly, please allow me to cordially advise the committee that I have filed an appeal of the zoning board's recent decision in the Mecosta County 49th Circuit Court. And I would also like to observe that there is nothing in the master plan which mandates a sober living home at all. The only thing that at issue is not the nobility of the cause. The only thing that it is at issue is the location. This particular house. If the Jonah Foundation is serious about their mission, they need only to find a different location. They have found the wrong house. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Anybody else speaking in opposition? Nope. Okay. And then you gave us all the written materials that you had, so there's nothing else there. Chance for rebuttal? Okay.
Thank you, distinguished board, for having this hearing and allowing us to speak. I want to address.
You say your name, please.
My name is Randy Hahn. I am the lead chaplain for Mecosta County Jail. I've worked directly in the jail for a decade. I'm also the jail advisor sitting on the board of Jonah Foundation, and I'm the spiritual advisor. So I just want to speak briefly, not to argue, but to speak about two different concerns that I've heard. I'm not deaf to your concerns. I'd like to address briefly the concern that often comes with proposals like these, the effect on neighboring property values. This is not a matter of opinion. It's been studied. Peer-reviewed study published in the Journal of Drug and Alcohol Dependence in 2026 examined the relationship between recovery residents and nearby property values and found no negative statistical impacts. This is consistent with the broader body of research on recovery housing, which has been studied for decades. Well-managed recovery residents are typically held to strict codes of conduct, upkeep, noise, guest policies, often exceeding what's expected from typical rental properties within the neighborhood. I raise this not to dismiss the neighbors' concerns, which is understandable and come from a place of caring about community, but to offer the board actual data alongside those concerns so that this decision can be grounded in evidence rather than assumption. The other issue I'd like to speak directly to, and again, not to argue, but I want to speak to fear. I heard concerns raised that the men who live in the home are drug addicts and alcoholics. And I understand that that word carries worry. But it's not who they are anymore. It's who they were. These are men in recovery, men who have done hard work of getting sober and continuing to do it every day under real structure and real accountability. I've spent a decade working directly inside our county jail system, and here's what I have seen firsthand. Men often cycle through the county jail 3, 4, or 5 times before anything changes, because there's nothing there to interrupt the pattern. That's the real recidivism problem in our own community. Not a statistic from a state prison report, but what actually happens right here in Mecosta County. Programs like ours, with structure, accountability, and support, see recovery rates around 80% and higher at times. That's not a hope. That's a well-documented outcome. For models like this one, these men have already served their time. They've paid their debt to the law required of them. I don't believe we're called to add a second sentence on top of that. One of permanent suspicion that never gets served and never ends. I'm asking you to consider that the fear here, while understandable, is not a legal reason to say no. I'd also like to offer the opportunity that anybody here that sat in their own valid concern of why this house shouldn't be here. We, as Jonah Foundation, spent 4 years developing our processes, our procedures, our policies to protect the very community which we intend to build up. And I'd like to offer the opportunity for anyone with concern to sit down and review our policies and procedures with us. If that would solve your problem of fear, our door is open to you. Call us. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. God bless you.
All right, thank you, Randy. So at this time, we'll close the public hearing. Okay. And we'll move to fact-finding discussion by the planning commission.
Make sure to have your microphones in front of you and talk into them. So.
Okay. Not a problem. I think the biggest issue I have is if you spent 4 years putting these policies together, why didn't you spend 6 months reviewing our ordinances and know that the city of Big Rapids doesn't allow this within our residential neighborhoods? And, you know, our number one job as planning commissioners, regardless of what I feel in my heart, is to protect the public safety of our town. You know, I've, over the past month and a half, I've had people in my backyard that are coming from our brother's keeper. I've had people wandering through the yards of my neighborhood. We've been having an uptick in crime on the east side.
Can they speak up a little bit, Michelle?
Lots of new faces. I just don't know when we actually say enough is enough, how do we police this? We have ordinances set in place to limit the amount that the city allows. And I think we all do our best. If there's a little thing that needs tweaked, hey, we have the zoning board of appeals, you can go to them. But there are multiple items on this application that do not line up. And myself, I can support the mission, but I can't support the house they're trying to put it in. And, you know, I live in a fairly rough neighborhood in this city, and maybe I see more than most. Being retired now, I see a lot more than I used to, but I just can't support it in that location. There are other locations that they can put it. And if that means you have to get a mortgage, well, we all have to get a mortgage.
My question
That's
is,
just my
if you take the people out of it, take the people completely out of it, doesn't matter if they're elderly, if they're people suffering from addiction, people experiencing homelessness, take the people completely out of it. Would you put a home or an institution for human care on that corner? Is that a corner, take the people completely out of it, doesn't matter who's going in there? Would you allow that house to take it away from a rental? It's a rental right now. You take it away from a rental and you would allow it to be a institute for human care. That's the question we got, right? It doesn't matter the kind of people that are going in there. We can't dictate yes or no on what the type of person that goes into that.
Correct.
So I mean, talking about like all the shelters and all that kind of stuff, I don't know that's we can't change any of that.
No, we can't change that. All we can do is use the ordinances that are out there to make our decisions on what we allow to happen within the rental properties. And there are a lot of rental properties in this town. And if we allow the 7 to 9 in this one of unrelated, then what happens to all the rest of the rentals downtown that just get stacked full of people?
I believe the other recovery house in Big Rapids has up to 10 people as well.
Yes.
And most people don't even know it exists.
And I do believe Jonah House can actually fit 12 people. I think I saw within the ZBA report that they were talking that they could do up to 12, but they were only going to do 9. And once again, it's really not about what they're doing within the house. It's, does that building meet the standards for our residential neighborhoods and the business that they want to do there meet the standards?
I want to say thank you for that, and I appreciate your insight or your direction towards if we remove the individuals out of this. The scenario, the situation with the new master plan, the zoning board, all of the restrictions that are in place as of now that were voted on, that were created, that are being put into place this December. I would feel like it'd be the best that we follow up with the master plan going forward on a right foot. With the amount of ordinances that would need to be adjusted in order to facilitate this type of, as much as I would love to support the use of this building, it violates a lot of the parking, the acreage, the setbacks. And I want to make sure we start on a right foot with this. And there are a lot of properties in Big Rapids currently available on and off market, and maybe there's a better opportunity
I have a question.
Sure.
Michelle, I'm trying to understand again this map. Can you,
I can explain. So the RP district was developed around 2007 in Big Rapids. Before that, I believe it was mostly zoned R3. And it was a very large amount of unrelated rentals. So more than 4 unrelated people. Most people refer to that as college rentals. They don't necessarily have to be college rentals. They could just be 4 unrelated people. So anything that is a rental would not be a PRE property, because a PRE property is homeowner property. So it has to be owned by the individual who lives on the property, and they have to live, like, it has to be their primary residence. So the light pink ones that you see are properties that have never had a PRE, so they've never been a primary residence for anyone. The red ones were PRE in 2007, but before that, they may not have been PRE or primary residence. The dark green are ones that have always had a primary residence on the property. And then the light green that you see are ones that since 2000, that currently have a PRE, or primary residence on the property, but may not have always been that way. Does that make sense?
so since 2007, the light green designations have changed?
At some point, they have changed. It could have been before 2007. They just haven't always had the PRE. So, I mean, I don't know exactly when they changed, but they have changed from being a non-primary residence to a primary residence.
Well, I think it was about 14, 15 years ago when we changed to the RP district to try to enhance the single-family residential properties in this area, try to make a turnover. If I read this, it looks like it has had some success.
It's had some success.
And I think that's important, that we try to maintain that opportunity of success for the R1s, throughout other wants and desires of property to do something that this district isn't made for. I'd like to see that continue. I don't. When I look at the standards that we have to go through, it seems to me that the standards of the criteria number 1 and number 2 are a issue for me with this particular request. Some of the other standards might be able to go through it, but I think they all have to be appropriate, and I don't see that they are. So I think that at least from my perspective, we should maintain that RP district.
So, it's okay if I speak, Chair? Okay, so I have literally thought about this every day since the last meeting. Every day. it's really hard because I have so much faith in the plan and the program. I have so much faith in it. I definitely think it is needed so much. The fact that you're willing to put in the time and effort to make it run to help people's lives and hopefully put them on the right track forever is amazing, and it's so needed. I am so sad that you chose a house that is in the wrong part of Big Rapids. I'm sorry, I am in favor of residential homes not having this house be in their neighborhood. I have driven that street. I've driven it with my husband, who also works for the city. We have literally talked about every home on the street. We've analyzed the houses. Our daughter was a sorority girl. We used to drive by and see her car parked right in front of the female sorority house. They're not allowed to actually have sorority homes. It's just a house of sorority girls that live together. There's certain rules in Big Rapids that don't apply to the girls like they do for the guys that are in fraternities. So even though it's not like considered like a sorority house, it is a house where a lot of sorority girls go. They have these big gatherings where they do really wonderful things together. Besides just having fun, they have raise awareness, which their awareness for that actual sorority is for breast cancer awareness. They do a ton in our city to establish a wonderful walk for breast cancer. The thing is that we look at every house. We look at the frat house that's there. I think it's an academic frat house, regardless, still a bunch of boys all living together. And we talk about like, okay, so they have this house that would be full of men, and this house that would be full of men, and there's a house full of girls, and then there's people who live in these homes that are exactly like my mother. She's 84 years old, and she lives in a house in the city right here in Big Rapids. And I think about her, because I have to. We're talking about a city street that is set up with a lot of variations. And it seems like, well, it's very contradictory to not say they could have a house, but we have a sorority house and we have a fraternity house, and they're all doing what they're doing, and then we have a house that wants to support men and do what they need to do to be successful. So it's weighed on me every single day. I really love the Hans. I'm personally friends with the Hans. I still feel like I have a right to sit here and make a decision on this. Because as much as I know and trust them to do the right thing, I do agree that it isn't something that we can say 100% it's gonna work out perfectly in this neighborhood. And as much as I want them to have the house that they desire, in my opinion, it does not fit into the structure of a neighborhood that's trying to maintain its single resident, and how those other places have been allowed to move in there and be there. That's outside of my, advice. But this specific request that I'm on the board for right now, this request in front of me, I have to say it doesn't work. This house just doesn't work. I want you to have a house, and I want you to have this program, and I want it to be in Big Rapids, and I want to cheer for it, and I want to watch it grow and be amazing. I just need a different location.
Rick, got anything to add?
No. I'm going against the standards. I mean, nobody could argue against the mission. It's not the mission, nor is it the integrity of the program.
Rick, can you pull your microphone?
Yeah, I'm doing a calculus against all the 6 standards. There is no question about the mission or the integrity of the program. So I need some time to think about it a little bit more.
Anybody else, anything else to add?
I'd just like to add that as much as this does hit home because of personal experiences with this type of the facilities, with family members and friends, as much as I'd love to support it, and maybe this isn't the right location for it, reading through the testimonies for and against that were provided by, I feel as if we were to reach out to Big Rapids, the Jonah Foundation, through the community, through either Facebook or something, you might be able to find some sort of facility or some otherwise outside support to help direct to make sure that this happens. That's one thing that I've noticed about Big Rapids, and I'm sure a lot of you as well. Coming into the city, if you need help, there's always somebody there to help you, regardless if you ask for it or not. I've had that personal experience from a neighbor. They saw me doing some work, they had the equipment, they came right on over. Same as, I would do for them. And I feel like if we reached out, maybe that opportunity lies away. But with the amount of calculus that we may do against the Zoning Board of Appeals and what we have laid out in front of us, unfortunately, the math doesn't equal out to what I would like to say. Thank you.
Chair, I have a question for Michelle.
Go ahead.
So, has there been a public safety study done on this, the impact on public safety?
There's not been an impact on public safety done on it. I did reach out to our interim police chief, Scott Paquette, and he did not express any concerns with the location. He made a comment that with the frat house being nearby, it might not be the best choice, but other than that, the type of use or the impact of that use on the police wasn't a concern of theirs.
Thank you.
Could you possibly speak towards why the city staff's recommendation, like how that comes about?
So staff does analysis similar to the board, of how we see the operation and we see the request. When I was going through my analysis for it, I saw the operation operating similar to a single family home, right? They're living somewhat as a family. Yes, they're unrelated, but to me, the structure of the program is more relatable to a single family home than a structure of unrelated persons. So that's more where my analysis was based on. That doesn't mean my analysis is the only analysis that's correct, right? It's my analysis of how operations and impacts are on the property.
All right, if nobody has anything else to add, has anybody got a motion or like to make a motion?
Chair, I have one more additional question.
Yeah.
So, any change in special use stays with the property, not with the applicant, is that true?
Correct.
Thank you.
What you thinking?
I'm trying to think about if currently it's a rental, if it changes for the applicant, does it remain a rental status?
Would this be in our rental program? Is that what you're asking?
Well, I'm just asking, where does it fall? If it's currently a rental, it's a non-conforming use, correct? So if it's approved, then what is the status?
So if the application was recommended for approval and approved by the city commission at their next hearing. And the property right now is a legal non-conforming use. And the Jonah Foundation were to move into the property. The legal non-conforming use of the property as a rental, as a 3-unit rental, would be null and would not be permitted to go back to being a 3-unit rental again, because it hasn't been that use, right? So if someone else moves in, changes it to a use that's either permitted by special use or permitted by zoning, by right, they lose their legal non-conforming. So, does that answer your question?
And so then, that property, if the Jonah House were to find another spot, I mean, if they moved in, found another spot, that property would be
required to either meet the stipulations of a special use approval that were approved, the uses that were approved under the special use, or it would be required to meet the zoning ordinance for the RP district. It could not go back to being a 3-unit rental.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody like to make a motion on that?
I would remind the board that your motion is just a recommendation to the city commission.
I move to recommend denial of the special land use permit application for the Institution of Human Care at 403 Maple Street because it does not meet the standards as set forth in section 11.1.11 of the zoning ordinance, which lists the following requirements for institutions of human care. 1, the area accommodating any of these areas use shall not be less than 1 acre in area. 2, the building, including accessory buildings, must not be located less than 50 feet from all property lines. 5, off-street parking, loading, and unloading shall be provided in accordance with Article 5 of this ordinance.
I'll second that. I'll second that.
Roll call.
Can we have discussion about that? I'm not sure we can use those particular ones because the ZBA has approved those standards. Am I correct by saying that?
Yeah, the planning commission.
And so I might suggest that we use the denial for section 10.3-8, 1 and 2. From my perspective, I think. But help me with that one.
Help you with that one.
With
So
the ZBA, with the
The
ZBA.
planning commission does not have the ability to overturn the ZBA's ruling. There are issues, so the ZBA, or the 11.111 is more specific, like checklist items type than what section 10.3.8 is, which is the standards for special use. So I would guide the board at looking more at the 10.3.8 because the ZBA was the one who gave variances for the 11.111. So if you want to, you could amend your motion how you see fit. And then Rory would have to decide if he is going to support that amendment to a motion, and then we would move forward.
Do you want me to withdraw, or can he just
You
add
can
that
just
in
amend
there?
You have to
Can
choose
he
to
add it in
amend
there?
it.
Can he say it and add it in? What he, no,
You have to do it, cause you made the motion.
10.3?
Yeah,
10.38.
10.3, 1 and 2.
10.38.
10.38,
You have that ready available?
1 and 2. And if you wanna look, if you wanna look at that, we can,
Yeah, let's take a
we can
look
go
at that.
through it in the discussion, if you change that.
I make a motion to withdraw my denial until further investigation.
I'll second that.
Well, I follow it.
One little glimpse of it.
So the standards.
Standards
So
of
the
10.3.
standards, start there. 1 and 2 seem to me, yeah, to be the ones that are not covered. In my opinion. Okay, I'll move that, let's see, all the information. Where's our sheet, our page here that we?
It's on the bottom, and then on the top.
So, I move to recommend to the city commission denial of the special land use permit application for an institution of human care at 403 Maple Street. It says pin 17-11 385-007 because it does not meet the standards of 10.3.8, number 1 and number 2.
I second that.
Roll call. Ruddick.
Yes.
Stokes.
Yes.
Vogel.
Yes.
Borowski.
No.
Montgomery.
Yes.
Coladas.
No.
So the recommendation of denial has been approved. And the city commission meeting, because of Labor Day, is on September 8th at 6:30 in this room. And they will make the final decision.
All right, thanks for coming, guys.
If you are leaving, please exit quietly. We have a long agenda.
All right, so we're moving on from B because that was postponed. C is going to be another public hearing for 714 Willow. Scott Fraser, special use request to allow a home occupation for pickleball lessons and existing accessory structure. Staff support first.
The Frasers are applying for a special land use to allow home occupation at 714 Willow. The property is currently zoned R1. Home occupations located in the R1 district are required to obtain a special land use permit or approval. Our ordinance goes back and forth. The property is located deep within the R1 district, east of Ferris, with, you can see attachments for maps and images of the property. The applicant is proposing to begin operation of a home occupation out of the pole barn on the property.
The pole barn is currently set up with a pickleball court inside, and the space was originally intended to be used as a private recreational space. The site is 0.344 acres and is adjacent to another residential property owned by the applicant where they live to the south, which is also 0.344 acres. The applicant was granted a variance by the Zoning Board of Appeals to allow the operation of a home occupation out of the accessory structure with the condition that no more than 4 students and 2 instructors are allowed at a time. The Planning Commission is always encouraged to review the application against the standards of the ordinance. Recommendation, while there is a concern of changing character of the area by means of increased traffic noise, the applicant has shown regular operation will keep disturbances to a minimum. Only 4 students will be allowed at a time. Prepared surfaces for parking have been provided, and the building does have soundproof insulation. Staff recommends approval of the special land use to allow the home occupation as it meets the standards of 10.38 and 11.110 of the zoning ordinance, with the exception of standard number 3 of 11.110, which is where they received a variance for from the Zoning Board of Appeals. As the same with the other one, this is a recommendation by the board to the City Commission for final decision. On your desk, there is a packet. It was all paper clipped together that had some additional information from the applicant that I forgot to put in your original packet. And then there was also 2 letters that were included in that packet from neighboring property owners.
Thank you.
Yep.
Scott, you can come up to the podium and share your name.
First, I'd like to thank you for hearing me today. My name's Scott Frazier, and I currently live at 718 Willow Avenue, and I built a pole barn at 714 Willow Avenue as a recreation facility for me and my kids, and to be active in the winter. Pickleball is one of the fastest growing sports in America, really, and I have fell in love with it, and with that became a certified pickleball coach, and have the facility at my residence to be able to host lessons. As the vice president of the pickleball club, I currently do a lot of free lessons at Hemlock, and I've done a few at my home. And I've been able to touch anyone from 80 to all the way down to 9 years old, and I feel like that's been a great benefit for the community to be able to do that. With that in mind, I have cut the curb and have plenty of parking there to fit more than 4 cars, but the request is for limited to 4 students, and a lot of times it won't even be that. Then also the building is pretty well insulated, very limited noise. There is in favor from a neighbor directly across the street, and I've asked I don't want to be an inconvenience to the neighborhood. I want to do everything I can to not be an inconvenience, and I don't think that this changes the character of the neighborhood. I will say that we do live on the same street as Riverview Elementary, and kind of to the hospital as well, and there is some traffic from those, and I don't see this being an increase in traffic to that neighborhood. So I really ask for you to consider this approval so that I can be able to continue to promote pickleball in our community and host lessons out of this building. And I will just add one more thing, that this isn't something I'm trying to do as a full-time job. I have a full-time job. This is just something to do maybe 1 or 2 times a week to continue to promote the sport and do something that I have a passion for. So, thank you.
Thank you. So, opportunity for anyone to speak in favor? Anyone to speak opposed? Go on up. And then state your name for us, please.
My name is Donna Dracy. I'm here to represent my sister Carol Dracy, who owns the property at 701 Willow Avenue, which is across the street. I think this whole thing is a question of location and fit. Our city fathers set rules for Big Rapids for a reason. And I believe that rule there was that that would be a residential neighborhood. And commercial things would be somewhere else. We would like to see it remain a residential neighborhood. There are other vacant lots in that neighborhood. Is somebody else gonna put up another pole barn without telling anybody, which is what happened here, and then maybe start repairing cars in it or something? We don't know what else is going to happen. But when you change things for one person, I think that you have an opportunity to change it for everybody. So we would like to see it remain residential. I don't know if there are other businesses being run from that location, or would this be the only one? Nobody in our neighborhood was informed that that pole barn was going up. Nobody was informed as to what it was going to be about. Nobody has seen the inside of it. Someone next door to us, I believe you have a copy of her work, she emailed this to Michelle. Okay. And we don't know if there's really room for a pole or for a pickleball court in that pole barn or not, because none of us have seen the inside of it. I don't know if anyone from the city has seen it either. And if that's the case, then I think everybody is kind of making a decision on something we haven't seen. So I would like to see this remain residential. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak opposed? Yep, go ahead. I will try to keep them under 5 minutes.
My name is Francesca Beningo. I'm representing my grandmother, Patricia Schaffner, who owns the property that is on the other side of this pole barn. I live in the house that is on the next property, 722 Willow, and I have heard a few things that I think it's important to share my perspective on. So being the property right next to it, first of all, laying in bed, in my bed at 9 p.m., I can hear pickleball going on in this pole barn. And my bed is on the opposite side of the house from this pole barn. I can hear it if I'm sitting in my backyard. I mean, my first thought was, to get in contact with you guys and ask if there was some kind of soundproofing. And so I worry that if soundproofing is already in place, it's not really doing a good enough job. And I have 2 children, 1 year old and 2 years old, and it's important that it isn't a problem, that there isn't pickleball sounds happening at 9 p.m. You also, a concern that's been raised is parking, and being the property adjacent to this pole barn, I have cars lined up on my property, outside my property. Don't get me wrong, people can park wherever they want to park, it's a public street. But there is all of the street surrounding their house that these cars could park, and I watch it happen regularly. One car pulls up and parks right in front of the driveway for the pole barn, and then right behind that is my property. So the next 3 cars that pull up then are there. And again, it's a public street. But if you're saying that there's parking provided and it's not going to interfere with other spaces, I'm having a different experience. And besides that, Donna raised the issue that none of us were spoken to. I have lived in that house since 2022. I was there before the pole barn went up, and I have been there ever since. And I came home from work every single day. I commuted from Grand Rapids, where I was a teacher, and at 4:30 p.m. I'm pulling in the driveway. They are working on that pole barn, and not once has anybody said anything to me about it. And I don't appreciate not being spoken to about it. And so ultimately, I think that if there are other facilities in Big Rapids that have indoor pickleball courts, that maybe that's a consideration. Can I run some lessons out of Ferris State's pickleball courts? I don't know that this needs to happen in a residential neighborhood, and seriously, like, my biggest concern is that I don't create problems between myself and my neighbor. But after the last meeting and hearing what was spoken about, I felt like it was really important to share my perspective and my concerns. So being right next door, I can hear the pickleball court, and it is happening at late hours. And if you need to see pictures of cars parked outside, I have it from multiple dates since last winter. There have been people showing up. So it's already happening, whether you guys have approved it or not. And obviously I don't know whether you're being paid for it, Scott, and that's, neither here nor there to me, but it's happening. It's happening, and we were never involved. So that's my piece, and I appreciate you guys listening and having these hearings.
All right, thank you. Anyone else opposed? Rebel?
Yeah. So I'll just start with the pole barn itself. As you know, building anything in Big Rapids, you have to go through a process and go get a permit and follow all the zoning rules. All of that was achieved, so there was no need to inform anyone of what I was doing at my property with building the pole barn itself. To the parking, the curb was cut maybe a month ago, and that was in anticipation of coming and requesting for this. So there were cars parked on the public street.
Okay, but why were cars parked there tonight?
There were 2 cars there this
Okay.
afternoon.
He's addressing the board right now, guys, okay?
Yep.
You've had your chance to speak, now he's rebuttaling.
So the parking is available, and I'll even address hers in that I'll just back up a little bit. This is my private court, right? If I want to let my friends come and play there, I can. And I let people use it. I play in there all the time. If there's play at 9, I try to be very respectful of the time. I don't think 9 is too late. It's very soundproof. It may not be 100% soundproof, but I did my best to make it so that the noise kept. And to the other argument I would have that if I wanted to build an outdoor court in my yard, I could, and it would be 3 times or 4 times as loud. But, I chose to put it inside. I did submit pictures, so everyone up there should have seen the inside of the building, regardless of anyone in the neighborhood has seen the inside. I don't think that's a requirement for this. So a lot of the points in opposing it, and I would also go back to, if anyone wanted to buy an empty lot and build a pole barn, then they would have to go through the same exact process and sit up here and try to make sure they meet all the zoning rules and the special permit uses. There are people in our exact neighborhood that have special use permits for home occupation. It happens. Again, this isn't like trying to make this huge commercial business. I'm just trying to be able to host some lessons. Yes, the court is used by myself regularly. I have 3 kids that have friends regularly over, and we do utilize the court that we built for ourselves. And this is additional crest to do something a little bit further than that. So.
All right, thank you. So we'll close the public hearing and move to fact finding within the planning commission.
So I note in the application response that we're gonna be limited to 2 to 3 times per week lessons and no more than 4 students?
No more than 4 students. I don't see being able to do it more than 2 to 3 times a week in terms of lessons, just based on schedule.
Okay, so just so I'm understanding clearly, 2 or 3 times per week, a maximum of 4, so the increased traffic in the neighborhood would be somewhere between 8 to 12 cars a week?
Potentially, and lessons usually run about 1 hour.
And currently, you are already utilizing that without providing paid lessons, but you're currently utilizing that and allow other people to use it?
Correct. Mostly with myself, because you play with 4 people. But just to reference tonight, there were 2 friends who asked if they could use the court tonight. So there were 2 people there tonight, and that's just me letting my friends utilize an asset that I
Thank you.
What, do you know the noise ordinance for in-city?
I don't know it offhand. There is a noise ordinance. I don't think it's by decibel.
Oh,
I can't remember it. I should know it more. I dealt with it like a year ago. But I think it's by decibel. It's unlikely that pickleball would reach that decibel. There is language in it, even if you don't reach decibel, about being like a nuisance, like it being to the point of causing a nuisance, that then it's not actually enforced by the zoning ordinance, it's enforced by the police power ordinances of the city. So it would fall on the police department to enforce those ordinances.
Gotcha.
I have an additional question. In a home occupation, isn't there a limit to the hours from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m.?
I believe it is limited under the home occupation section from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. If the board felt like that wasn't limiting enough because of the use or the residential neighborhood or closeness of neighbors or anything, you would have the ability to change those hours. But those are the hours that typical home occupations are permitted to operate under, 7 to 9.
Thank you.
So I have, first of all, I live 4 houses down from the pickleball court. It gives me a little bit of perspective and experience, but I'm not next door. When I look at the zoning ordinance, it talks about occupation, and the applicant has indicated this is not his application. It looks like it's a hobby. I don't know if that makes a difference, but in the past, we've looked at these, that people are, it's their bread and butter, and I don't see that's happened, although it doesn't really speak to it here in all the different requirements, except and then that brings up number 4. No such home occupation shall require interior or exterior alterations or use of mechanical equipment not customary for housekeeping. So I'm thinking, does that mean that, is a pickleball court customary? I'm not sure it is. That's really the thing that I'm hung up on, is that I just don't believe it's a customary use that we see for normal housekeeping.
Yeah, I thought of it in the way of one of my best friends growing up had wrestling mats, and we did our training in the off season there, and it was never an issue because it wasn't inside a town or city limits. But I think that the part that I'm struggling on is like, there's any of the opposition or any of the problems we have with this, we have no power over either way. If he just had a party and had 10 people over to play pickleball and they parked on the street, which is public, and he could do that every night because he's allowed to. But the fact that he wants to bring a couple people over, charge in his off time, now it's a big issue. And I just, it like you said, it's more of a hobby, but they already have that, it's already there. I mean, it passed, it had to have passed whatever it passed to get inspected. You could have 10, 15 people there, and it could be even crazier than that. I mean, who knows? That's why I kind of ask about the ordinances and the laws, right? Because in what case is it an issue? Like if you're having issues and it's too loud, or it's late at night, or it's getting crazy, I don't know that this is the place to take them, or as calling.
Yeah, so what we direct people to do is when they have noise ordinance issues is they need to call the police, because they're the ones who enforce the noise. We do have like a lot
knockout policy in our noise ordinance, which is mainly used more for, right, it's more for college party houses where if you get three strikes and you're out. I don't know how that would apply to pickleball or if it would apply, but that's what we do for like big loud house parties is 3 strikes and you're out, and we padlock your door.
Yeah.
So we do have a noise ordinance. If you call, the police will stop by, tell you to turn down whatever's being loud. From there, there's probably time limitations.
And who's to say it's not customary in an area where if I had the money, I'd probably have a basketball court or something in my yard. I'm not able to do that right now. So it might not be customary to have that equipment at your house already. But I don't know if there's anything against it.
Yeah, put in a tennis court.
When you're looking at a home occupation, that's the difference, it's a business.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the difference. So, that's how I see it, that's how I saw it. The other question I have, and maybe Michelle you can help, no more than 25% of the floor area, of the ground floor of the principal structure may be devoted to the home occupation. How does that work in this case?
There's 0% of the home occupation in the principal structure. It's all in the accessory structure.
Okay, all right. Okay, and the ZBA said that the auxiliary structure that they approved that. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Well, so you're charging for this?
That is the goal, right, is to be able for money to change hands.
Okay. So, it's interesting because I haven't thought about this in so long, but I read, when I saw this was going to be on the agenda, I read a whole article about the noise that pickleball makes. You probably read them too. They've written, there's mostly what I read about was that it was in retirement communities. They'd put in pickleball and that pickleball is such a great thing and everybody loves pickleball. But people get PTSD symptoms from the noise, from the constant pop, pop, pop. To the point where a lot of these retirement, communities, they govern within themselves and they've actually removed them and moved them out to another facility area so that it stops the constant annoyance that people end up building up all this anger inside because they can't get the noise to stop because pickleball is so popular and people love it and it's awesome, right? It's great exercise, awesome sport. So my heart says I feel so bad that you are feeling that noise is an annoyance and your children are having to put up with something that you've lived in a quiet neighborhood. One of the best things about Willow is it's extremely quiet. It's a beautiful part of Big Rapids. That whole area by the hospital is such a nice, quiet area. In fact, I love to drive it in the evenings because we always comment on how it's very serene and just so peaceful. So I can honestly see where you would have pushback from your neighbors if they can hear the pop sound, right? It's just a fact. Your kids probably love it. They think it's great, best thing ever. Other children may be annoyed by it. You can have white noise sound, which is not very fun, right? Because who wants that all the time? But I don't know. Other than maybe restricting hours, which then affects your ability to make money because you probably would like to do this until 9 p.m. Other than restricting hours, I'm not sure that we have a whole lot that we can do because if the city let them build a pole barn, then they can do what they want with the pole barn. I do agree. When you own property, You love the fact that you can do what you want on your property, and there are noise ordinance things, and I think about those all the time because I also, I live right in Big Rapids. I know there's certain parts of town that there's noise, and I have to remind myself that, for example, I love the pool. I love the pool, but I live right next to the pool. I listen to country music all day long when I'm out in my yard, and I'm not a big country music fan. There's kids screaming, yelling, there's whistles blowing. I'm hearing "Don't sit on the gutters" 1,000 times a day. I know, like, that is a part of where I live. I live where there's a lot of noise in the summer. I try to find it endearing because I love the fact that these kids are having a great time. They're having so much fun. So I accept it. It is not a popping sound. I will give you that. It's not a constant popping sound. We've had concerns before from people who live over in our factory residential areas, and they hear factory noise and banging and beating drums all night. These are all things that happen when you live in a city. So I don't know that we have a whole lot that we can do as far as, the fact that he wants to run a business and he wants to have this on his property in a building that was permitted to be built. And I suppose that's why we're doing some fact finding here. I'm sure my other commissioners will have some input to help me too, but all I can think is we could make the hours like a 1 hour, less and have it be until 8. But I don't know what else we can.
2 comments.
Go ahead.
One, I'll just say, like, the noise will be quieter than if somebody were bouncing a basketball outside. But I live next door to her. I don't want her to dislike me. Like, if you put restrictions on the time for lessons, I'm never going to do lessons after 8 p.m. anyway, but I can't guarantee that pickleball won't happen then. But they make, to your point of the noise, they make these quiet balls now. I'm willing to talk with her and work out, like, hey, after 8 p.m., I'm going to switch to the quiet ball. Like, those are compromises that I'm willing to make with her to, quell her opposition, because I have little kids too. I don't know, I can't hear it in my house when people are playing and friends are over, but I'm we're different, the houses are set up differently, but I just want to make that point that I don't want to be a nuisance to the neighborhood. I want to be
I
a friend.
appreciate that. I mean, that means a lot to me because I do think it's all about being considerate of each other. You have someone up there.
Go ahead.
Our children go to bed at 7, in case anybody wants to know. Also, I used to live over by the pool. We lived on Rust Avenue. You knew that pool was there when you bought that house.
I did.
That's a difference.
That is true. That is a difference.
Michelle, the future land use of this area is R1?
Yes, this area in our master plan is designated as single, I think it's low density residential, cause they don't name districts in our master plan. So,
Is it close within the vicinity of a mixed use or commercial or? Okay. And then, sir, what are the current operating hours now? And you say in the application that there are by appointment only. How do you make this appointment? Do they come to the facility or do they log online? How do I get a hold of you? How do I hear about you? Am I allowed to come onto the property and request an appointment? Will you have an office there?
No, currently doesn't exist. Like, that's where I think we're getting a little misconstrued. Like, there's private pickleball that happens amongst friends, and then there's this opportunity to create lessons. I do have a card. Like I said, I'm vice president of the pickleball club, and one of the main reasons I'd like to do this so I can advertise amongst, we have a Big Rapids Pickleball Club Facebook page, like, hey, here's my name, here's my number. Everyone are always looking for opportunities for lessons, and typically that's how I would imagine being communicated. There's not gonna be a sign that says Scott's Pickleball Lessons out here. There'll be no advertising, be word of mouth or someone who found me via Facebook for advertising purposes.
And Michelle, if this was to be approved as a pickleball business in the residential area, if in the event he chooses to move within a few months, this stays as an opportunity for an investor to take over and implement their own type of business, regardless if it's a pickleball, maybe a mechanic shop, or
No, it would be tied to the it would be tied to the request, so your special use is tied to your request. So it would be approved for home occupation, but that home occupation would have to follow the same guidelines and intent of what the original approval was for. And if you put any stipulations on it, that would have to follow all of those stipulations as well.
Thank you. And sir, what type of signage do we have planned? None?
0.
100% none?
100%.
No exterior lighting facing outwards?
There's some floodlights for walking
Okay.
that are all motion activated.
And plowing and snow, is that gonna be inhibiting the ability to park your current vehicles or anything?
It's a pretty robust gravel driveway that I'll plan on keeping plowed and clear.
Any foresight of having people park in the street during the wintertime?
The idea is that they don't. If they do, it's just communicating like, hey, please park in here, but at the same time, like, it is a public road and you can't necessarily tell them not to. Well, I can tell them not to, but I can't stop them if they do it. But the goal is that there's more than enough parking that they could be off of the street to, reduce that congestion there.
Thank you.
Rory, do you have anything?
I just go back to the dog groomer.
Reiterate for those that don't remember.
No, I can't go back there.
I just wonder, what ordinances there are that says a person can't, receive a little money for something that they do in their house. Some people have all kinds of talents, their hobbies, receive money. It just seems that it's kind of an overkill for the application, it seems to me, for what, as I understand it, it wants to happen. And I still think number 4, they don't qualify for, but it's just.
Yeah, I
guess
kind of
that's
thought,
it.
for number 4, after you said it, I mean, I was kind of thinking like that's easily converted back to just garage space though. It's a concrete floor with a net put on it, right? I don't know about, considering it alterations, because it's still a pole barn with a concrete floor. I don't know, maybe.
Well, the alterations were where they put a pickleball court in there, right?
Sure.
And is that customary for a household? I don't think so. That's kind of how I looked at it.
Gotcha.
I don't know if I'm right. I've given
No,
it.
it's worth bringing up. It's just like, man, if you can't run this small business out of your home, there's still nothing keeping you from playing pickleball till the cops show up and tell you you're too loud. There's nothing stopping that. So I don't know.
Is there any restrictions on or ordinance on providing restroom facilities for patrons?
Home occupations are exempt, so usually building code dictates what you have to provide in like commercial facilities. Home occupations are exempt in the building code from meeting those kind of requirements.
Do you feel like you'd need any conditions?
No. I feel at the end of the day, if we meet all the requirements set forth in the zoning and the individual that's proposing an at-home profession would like to desire to do that, that'd be my recommendation. I'd be all for it. I don't see anything that is a big contention on my eyes besides it being in a residential one neighborhood towards, you know, the master plan. But if it conforms with all the set standards that are here, but I don't see any restrictions.
Yeah, I think what it comes down to is just how do you want to be accepted in your neighborhood? So that would be my only warning is you may not be making many friends. You may be making some enemies because it's just, it's really hard to, you know, the thing is like, I've talked so many times about, oh, I just wish I could live out in the middle of nowhere with no one to bother me because I would do so good if I lived somewhere where I was just in the woods and there's no one around. And my mother always says that's just when they'll put in a pig farm next door. Like there's no way to always have, like it's almost impossible to have privacy and solace. But I do think, you know, I really do think you would want to really be respectful of your neighbor that has children. You have children and you want them to be respectful of your children. You know, that's the biggest thing is you just have to be respectful. You have to think it through before you decide to host a pickleball. Like think about what day is it? You know, what day of the week is it? What time of the day is it? Like just be considerate because if we don't have any way to regulate it, then you just have to think about your neighbor. Because in Big Rapids, we try to be neighborly. That's a big promo for BRs that we help our neighbors. So
I can promise you I have in what I regulate. This is the first I've ever heard. And this, just for reference, this was built in January of 2023. So pickleball has been happening there for years.
Okay.
I've always tried to be
that's
very
very good.
cognizant.
That's good to know. Like we need to know that.
Ready for a motion?
I don't want to make a motion.
I'll make a motion. I move that the special land use permit application for a home occupation at 714 Willow Avenue, PIN 17-14-401-006, be recommended to the City Commission for approval because it meets the standards set in Section 10.3:8 and Section 11.1:10 of the zoning ordinance.
I'll second that. Roll call?
Ruddick. Stokes.
No.
Vogel.
No.
Borowski.
Yes.
Montgomery.
Can I abstain?
Nope.
I'm so sorry. I'm not committed either way, so I'm stuck. Just give me 1 minute. I'm just thinking through our discussion. I think I have to say no.
Paladis.
Yes.
Is that 3-3?
Yeah. 3-3.
So,
It's a recommendation.
it's a recommendation, so it'll go, I would think it would go to the city commission with no recommendation because it was a 3-3 tie.
We didn't have a majority, right?
We didn't have a majority.
So,
So September 8th. I think that's what happens. If it isn't what happens, I will let you know.
Okay, that's the first time.
Huh?
All right, you okay with us moving on? Okay. We'll move on to D, which is 408 Bellevue, St. Peter's Lutheran Church site plan review for the expansion of a parking lot. Staff first.
The applicant, St. Peter's Lutheran Church, is applying for site plan review for the expansion of their existing parking lot at 408 West Bellevue. The property is currently zoned R1. The applicant is seeking to expand the existing parking lot to meet the needs of the church and the school. The property is located on the west side of Big Rapids at the corner of Bellevue, Finley, and Grand Traverse. The applicant is seeking to add 30 new parking spaces with the restriping of 8 existing parking spaces into 9. Staff reviewed the application against the ordinance, and the only thing that staff found missing was the requirement for stormwater, and they are currently working on that. So staff recommends approval with the condition that the stormwater review meet the stormwater ordinance and is approved by Public Works prior to allowing any of the construction of the parking lot.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Would the applicant like to come up and present? Your name, please, sir?
My name is Puddin' Tame. I'm David Routley. I'm chairman of the congregation at St. Peter's. I really didn't come necessarily to speak to it. I just came to see if there was any questions that I could answer for it, and I sort of already gotten one here. This parking lot would be on the east side of our current structure. It's a grass area right now. So you would enter in off from Bellevue, travel north. There would be angled parking spaces through that up to the driveway that parts that grass area. Then traffic could turn left and turn around and come under our carport. As it stands now, people travel north through that carport. So if you're dropping someone off at church underneath the carport, they get out on the opposite side and have to walk across. We aren't doing it necessarily for this reason, but there is a fair amount of ice buildup there. So this would allow us to come facing south, let the passenger out where they can go out and get right into the church there, and then they turn back into that parking lot. So we would take part of the driveway out where it leads underneath that carport, and that would return to grass. We do have, we're working with Tom Sage, his engineering department. So we do have a water, the parking lot at this point would taper to the middle, and there are 3 cisterns in there that would gather that water. The question is, will it produce enough runoff where we will need to tie into the city sewer? And that's really what Tom is in the process of calculating out. If that's the case, the cisterns will lead north, middle, south. That south drain will drain into the city drain that is at Finley and Bellevue. And if that runoff is calculated to be too high for that drain to handle it, there is, and forgive me, it's not my gig, there's a special drain that they put in there then, and it controls the amount of runoff out of that into that, you may well know, Tim, into there, so it meets the city requirement there. So I think you said, Michelle, 30 parking spaces, is that what you said? Because I think in Tom's drawing, we actually end up with 32 there. So.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone speaking in favor?
I'm half and half, can I speak?
Is there anyone else in favor first? Anyone else opposed? And then we have a half and half. Let's go. Let's see how this ends up. Just make sure you give us your name first.
Jean Valier, and we live right across the street from St. Peter's, and we've been there for over 30 years. And we understand, being a member, and my kids went to school there and everything, that they do need parking, but the reason we live there is the peaceful, beautiful setting that we have. So we would like to, I haven't seen any plans or anything. Our only thing is, we don't want the trees cut down along the road. We have no problem with the parking lot or anything like that, but we enjoy the birds and things and the, you know, just the greenery of it, and that's why people choose that area to live. You know, it's peaceful and it's still gonna be peaceful even with a parking lot, but we just would like the stipulations that those trees remain.
What side of, what road are you along again?
On Finley.
510.
What house is that?
Most of the trees on Finley, it
The
looks
one
like
that's
are
always decorated.
Okay.
He's in
Awesome,
work.
thank you.
It appears that they are keeping the majority of the trees along Finley Avenue, and then they also are adding landscaping per our ordinance right along the parking lot that will help shield some of the lights.
And they are or they are not taking the trees?
It, I mean,
There's one tree that's
one
coming
that
out
looks like that's gotta
Which
be
one?
come down.
over where the driveway is now. So you'll travel under that carport and it turns. There's a tree right there that has to come out.
It's not gonna bother us.
Yeah,
Okay.
none of them in front of your
We'll have our two that.
view, right, yeah,
then
those are
I'm all
all.
for it.
Well, thank you for your input either way. All right, we'll close the public and go to fact finding.
So, you know, I'm just gonna put my 2 cents in. So, I grew up in the White House, from kindergarten, well, from the time I was born in 1971 until 1987. My family lived in the White House on the corner of Bellevue and Finley.
Oh.
And so, it used to be called the Homestead. And, I know all the people that lived on Finley when I was a kid. Of course, it was dirt road back in the day. But I used to run in that field, and I used to race my dog across that entire grass thing. And all the neighbors along there where you live would be like, they literally would yell out, like, you know, go Sarah, you beat the dog. I mean, it was so much fun. So when I read this, of course, this is just what you do. I mean, I'm sure all the other commissioners do it too. We like to go out and explore and see like what's happening. And of course, I grew up and I went to St. Peter's from kindergarten to 8th grade. Very big supporter of St. Pete's. But the first thing I said to my husband was, oh, I can't believe they're gonna take out this beautiful grassy area. And I'm like, oh, the houses are gonna be like, oh, I'm so bummed. But then I realized if they're growing and the school's growing and your membership's growing, it makes sense and it's there and it's available. And so I'm not a big advocate for change. I don't mind telling you that. So I know exactly where you live and what you look at and the serene and yes. So, but yeah, I think that it's probably a necessary change if you have a growing membership. That's all I have to say about that.
Will they be considered with like the performance guarantee with the landscaping? If this is new construction, new parking lot, how does that
We
factor
don't,
in? Not at all?
we don't currently have not in the past required any kind of escrow accounts or performance guarantees on our commercial establishments. It's in our ordinance that we have the allowance to do it. The city commission has never adopted anything to my knowledge that allows for those types of things to happen in their policies, and they would be the ones who would establish some of the more nuances of escrow accounts or performance guarantees. It is something that we're looking at, right? We have things fail and it's expensive and we have trouble getting compliance. So many communities do it. It's very common in the development world. It's just not something that we have done in the past, but it is something that we've talked about in our new ordinance discussions.
And that would be very similar to, say, posting a bid bond, and the bond would be held till answer 2 years old or whatever.
Yeah, so some places do bond, some places let you escrow or bond, or, however, there's multiple different ways to do it, and then they can call that bond if, say, all their landscaping dies, or something fails, like their stormwater fails, and they refuse to, you always give them the opportunity to fix it, but if they refuse, then you can call their bond.
So this one's, I guess, kind of close to me. I'm a block away. And my first concern too is the trees. I was curious. I was like, man, that's because we have to weigh that when we look at a lot of these, is the difference of the green space versus parking lot space. And I happen to know that it does seem like they're doing pretty well and they're expanding, and it makes sense that they need more parking. And it looks like I gotta squint pretty hard, but it looks like most of the the trees, and obviously I was interested to see how the landscaping was gonna look. We go over there a lot, we walk through there a lot, and that was my concerns, and I think that's been handled. So that's all I really had to add to it. Rick, got anything?
Nothing further.
What do you got, Tim?
I've got a couple things I'd like to, there's questions about it. You have currently parking spaces on Bellevue. How many of those are you going to lose, or are you going to, have you calculated that?
I hate to say this out loud as if I actually know, but I think we're gonna lose 2 spaces on that. You're talking about the parallel in front of the sidewalk? We're gonna lose 2 there, but we're gonna gain those back where we're closing off the entryway.
Do you know how wide that cut will be?
My suspicion is it's on there, but as Sam said, if you can squint really, really good.
The drive cut, it's 20 feet.
Is it 20 feet?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, well, you saw that there? This is a very poor-looking plan for me to try to figure out what's going on.
I only had,
So, I don't see a seal on it. We don't have, this is not a sealed plan. Is it required to have a seal?
I will make sure he seals it when we get our final.
Thank you. The trees along Finley, they appear to be in the city right-of-way, is that correct? So they're city street trees?
They look like the city's trees, yes.
And none of those are gonna be removed, is that correct?
Correct.
So the plan at this point is certainly not to remove them. I'd be curious to know why they would be termed, what did you term it, city?
Yeah, if they're in the city right-of-way, they're a city.
City didn't pay to put them in there.
Well, they're in the right-of-way, and it's considered a city tree if they're in the right-of-way. So that was my question. You're not gonna take any of those trees out?
That's correct.
Okay. The plantings, so the plantings have to be such that they're not going to shine the lights into the residents?
No, there's
No?
specific language,
Because there's nothing called out here.
no, parking, so they have that they will provide parking lot landscaping per ordinance written in.
They have a choice between landscaping or fencing?
They do parking and storage. Parking lot screens will be designed with a hedge, wall, berm, fence, or combined thereof, forming of a continuous screen of at least 52 inches in height above parking for lot grade. Shall be located in the buffer zone, which they don't have a buffer zone because our ordinance is written weird. To provide maximum screening in the parking lot. The arrangement of shrubs and clusters is encouraged.
So that is something that the church will give to you for approval? So that would be a
Condition.
condition, okay. And then, are there lights? Are there parking lot lights? I couldn't tell.
They did have a light pole, but it hadn't been determined yet. I think there's only 2 light poles that they show on the
So
plan.
my concern there is that it doesn't bother the neighbors. It's to such a degree that, you know, the neighbors aren't gonna be bothered by the,
Speak on that, because right now they have in the one parking lot 2 big lights. And one was blinking, and of course my husband had red lights out in front, so we thought the police or something were outside. So we contacted them and they took care of it, and they even, you know, asked us afterwards, you know, is that right in your windows or anything, we can adjust it. So they were really good about that.
so are there gonna be light poles in the parking lot?
I think the current plan is that there are 2. I believe they're on the east side of the parking lot, so they reflect light to the west, away from those residents.
Okay. All right.
I have a mother that lives on the corner of Bellevue and Finley, and she sleeps on that side, so if there were light in that window, I would be in serious trouble.
I'm glad you're motivated.
Goodness, our house is blocked from.
What are the size of the parking spaces?
I think they were
I couldn't,
10 by 20s.
okay. That's all I have.
Critical question too, the little food pantry staying? Moving, relocating?
Oh, yeah. So as I understand it, that and our current sign have to be moved. The sign obviously will take up with the city as to where we can move it and what we can do with that. I don't know what's gonna happen to the food box. Our church is also in the process, in fact, I'm signing papers tomorrow to purchase 816 Maple. And we are hoping to develop an at-cost grocery store in town to help out what they term Alice individuals. So we're interested in feeding people.
Asset limited.
Said limited income.
Yes.
Those who don't qualify for like services but are not able to afford the in-betweens.
Yeah, deemed the
Asset
working
limited, income constrained, but employed. That's Alice. And I believe in Mecosta County, that is a family of 4 that makes less than $80,000 a year. So that encompasses a fair number of, I believe I was told 42% of our county population qualifies as Alice. About 20% poverty.
Okay. Awesome, all right, yeah, that's my only questions.
Well, I just wondered, so do we put in conditions about the lighting, just to make sure, like, we did dot our i's and cross our t's, like, we just would not wanna have it come back that people are complaining on that street that the lighting is not.
What I have written down so far for your guys' conditions that I've heard you talk about is a final seal when the design's done, a more detailed landscaping plan, figure to finalize stormwater, and that the light to meet our ordinance.
I did hear one thing about fences being moved, and that brought up a question I had earlier. It was about the flow of traffic. Is that changing at all? And is there any signs being put up for that to help the residents that are currently there know that things might be changing, or is it just gonna stay the same? You come in as you wish?
It really won't change traffic flow where residents are concerned. Our church members will have to understand that they're gonna travel through that carport going south, not north. But obviously, when part of that driveway's gone, they'll know that they're not gonna be able to do that.
So is it a one-way at that point? It'll be one-way?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Do you plan on putting like a one-way sign up?
Yeah, so we'll have a directional sign, because they'll still be able to, as they travel north in the new parking lot, they could still turn right and go back out to get onto Finley and depart from the area. But if they turn left, then they would have to turn left if they're gonna drop off at that carport.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have signage there for them.
Someone like to make a motion?
Make a motion, but I don't. There's a lot of stuff. Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
Okay, well, let's see, I will move that the site plan application for the parking lot expansion at 408 West Bellevue Street, pin 17-10-430-001 be approved with conditions. The application meets the criteria for review set in section 9.6 of the zoning ordinance, but conditions are required. Number one condition, that the plans be sealed by an engineer architect. Number two, that city staff approve the stormwater system for the parking lot. Number three, city staff will approve the planting or fence on the east side of the parking lot. Number four, well, I guess that's a landscape plan. I guess they're one and the same, so let's just say landscape plan. Okay, that's all, instead of the planting, the fence, just the landscape plan. And then, city approved the lighting scheme, the new lighting scheme for the parking lot.
I would just tell
second
the
that.
board this, I'm not in charge of this project, Jeff Carney is, but I know that Jeff has been in communication with Michelle, and she has communicated pretty much everything you said to him, that we need to pay attention to that. I just say that so that you know your city staff is doing their job.
Awesome, thank you. Roll call?
Roll call. Ruddick. Stokes.
Aye.
Vogel.
Yes.
Narowski.
Yes.
Montgomery.
Yes.
Kalidas.
Yes.
All in favor?
Awesome.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
Thank you.
If I lose
Any
a tree,
general
I'll be back.
business?
I wanna do another zoning ordinance review next week.
Oh, gosh.
Guys, we do still gotta finish the meeting up real quick. You guys can either go out to the,
So Tuesday or Wednesday works for my schedule and this room. Anyone have any preference?
Wednesday.
Wednesday works better.
Yes, ma'am.
Nobody seconded that.
I did.
You did? Oh, I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You weren't speaking loud enough, sorry.
Ma'am, we very much appreciate you and encourage you to come to all the further meetings.
I'm on the zoning
Always
board.
need an audit.
I'm on the zoning board, thank you.
Thank you very much.
So that's the 26th?
I'm not really
Is that
great
what we're
with
saying?
dates.
Wednesday?
It is the 26th, the Wednesday.
Yes,
What time we thinking?
I would like to do it at 5:30, so we can get out earlier. That works.
I just have to check with the boss and make sure that the kids don't have any appointments, but I think I'll be good on that.
yeah, just
Alright,
send
so
me the email.
I will email you all the stuff on Friday at some time. It might be a little bit late because I have classes and everything. And then,
I have one question. How's our bylaws coming?
I have them for you to review, but then I saw this agenda and I didn't put it on there.
Okay, so it's on there, okay, it's coming, thank you.
Yep.
All right.
I was like, well, I'm not doing that.
Any unscheduled business? No? Adjourn the meeting?
Man.
Oh, boy.
Good job, Sam.
Um,
Go, Sam.